2000 Mercedes E320 or 320E. Let's see if I could repeat this. Okay, so it's been sitting for about 4 minutes. The procedure I'm going to go through is I have the AC on low fan speed. I'm going to kick on the ignition, but not start the engine. And I'm waiting, there's a time delay before it starts spinning the fan. Now, just as it spins the fan, I immediately turn off the ignition because I want no more airflow. I want that pulse of air with a possible leak down in the evaporator case that's concentrated now. I don't want to dilute it out with more air behind it, flushing it. And I want to see if I could pick it up on the parts per million. So here we go. My hand is on the ignition down here. We're going to keep an eye on this. I'm going to listen. I'm going to put my face, your skin on your face and your ear right by to listen for the fan or feel any fan movement, and then shut it off immediately. Let's listen what happens. Okay, there we go. That's what we're looking for. So it appears there's possibly a small leak behind the evaporator. This did come in with no refrigerant in it. Somebody knew it had a leak and they stuck refrigerant in it. Okay, so that is very, very small, but this is very, very sensitive. Now, I'm not in for condemning evaporators right off the bat, especially when the concentration's that low. So what I will do, I'll prep them for the evaporator, let them know. And what you can do now is we could let this sit overnight, and hopefully it's the leak that keeps on leaking, and see if the concentration goes up over like a half hour, 1 hour overnight. I come back with the cloud leak detector. If it goes off when I first just go in the car, you know it's been leaking all night. And then if you stick it down in the vent and you just turn on the fan till it just starts to turn on and it goes to several hundred parts per million, then you can condemn it, because the expansion valve is outside on this vehicle. So there's nothing but the evaporator on the inside. The expansion valve is hidden. You could almost see it. Let's see if I could zoom in. No, zoom in the other way. Where are you at, expansion valve? Right. And now I can't see it. I know it's there. See that plastic right there? Behind it. And I cannot zoom in on the expansion valve using this phone. Phone doesn't, it's right there. It's down in there, but you can't see it. So, possible evaporator case, all I can say is drive it. Somebody knew it had a leak before. It came in flat. Oh, again, when I started this up with the refrigerant in it, there was a loud slipping, grunting noise coming from that compressor. And remember, that compressor was seized up when it came in here. It had corrosion, and it made a lot of noise when it started. Just for like a second and a half, and then it was gone. But I'm familiar with that very certain particular noise when I get a compressor that hasn't worked in a long time and it's seized up, and then I start them. They make that noise. Possible damage in the compressor from the customer running it low on refrigerant. That's another possibility. And that's it on this one. There's no more. Let's see. We got a nice Datsun right there. And old Datsun, really clean. Something we don't get to see too often anymore. That's a rare one. And then we have another Mercedes. I see a lot of these. I get to come across a lot of these. Another gold ring. And this one's original. Still has the lacquer on it for the paint job. And This is really nice. You don't get to see many of these anymore either. And remember we talked about in a video quality and what hurts your name after a while doing funky repairs. So this one was damaged in the quarter panel a long time ago, and it looks really nice. It looks factory. I gotta say, this part of the paint job is good, but they blended. So what they do is when your damage is down here, the cheaters will dust some of the paint up onto the quarter panel, but not all the way. They'll blend it in. It'll be thicker down here, and they'll start lightening out as they're spraying or they're fanning it out, and then they just speckle it in, so the customer cannot see. If there's a little bit difference in color, they'll do it across the hood and they'll do it across the door, so the customer cannot see a color change from here to here, or from here to here, or from here to here. But they have this cheating little cheap secret they do that comes back as a comeback years later. The customer even doesn't know, or usually the customer sells the car by then. You see this right here? Let's see if I could catch it in the close up there. Right there, you see that? So this is the top layer of clear peeling off, but there's a bottom layer of clear underneath. So that's clear on clear. That's called burning in. And this is when the body shop burns into clear, and what they'll do is they'll burn into clear up to this point, and they'll stop right here because they don't want to remove this piece to do it correctly, and they don't want to do all the taping involved, because you would have to clear all the way around here correctly and coming in all the way up to here, and you'd have to remove this. Sometimes you could, this one you can't rope back. Sometimes you could rope them back, and you'd put a little piece of string under here, and it'll rope up, it'll push the string under there, it'll lift the plastic up, so you could come back and you can paint, and you'll get some of the clear underneath, and you can't see it. And then after it dries, you pull the string back out, and that piece of plastic will lay back down, and nobody can see there's a little line that you cleared all the way here. So it makes this a very high quality job that doesn't do this and come apart. Now there's been several owners of shops, and I could see where they sanded back and they de-ate it, and I could see underneath the clear, I could see argue with me that, oh, you can do this and you get away with it and everything like that. And there was this one old timer, a couple of them actually, 20-30 years in the business, and he would argue this with me, and I say, no, you cannot do that, because like 4, 5, 6 years later, especially if it's a customer who gets their car detailed and polished, or they get it stoned, or you know, have a abrasive done on it, or just a UV sun, if you have an ultra thin layer of clear that you just burned in, it will fail later on. Well, these guys would argue this with me, and then several years later, if they didn't go out of business, they would start doing the whole thing. And a couple of these, when I start seeing them clear the whole thing, I would come up to them, because it's like I told you so, and I'd say, oh, I notice you're now clearing. You go, oh yeah, we had some comebacks and failures, and we got bad reviews, or the insurance company, we had to do it for free again because we're direct and we have a lifetime. And I go, oh, so what I told you before was right. Yeah. That kind of deal. And so I always see these failures, and that's from a hack shop. Hack shops do that kind of stuff. And I used to paint, my grandfather and my father, and we all owned body shops and mechanical shops too. And I never did this. I always took it all the way over. And you get paid to do it, and you charge your time. If you don't, you're going to eat it later, and it's going to hurt your reputation. Don't do shit like that. All right, guys. So I'm done with this one, and at least it's working for now. And we'll prep them to order an evaporator to do it later, because I think this one is like 12 or 14 hours of labor, possibly, to get this dash. I'm not sure if it's the 7-hour one. You have to look up book time. And you know, at nearly $200 an hour, so that's not a cheap job. All right, guys, I'll see you later. We'll take off from here and get the next one.